Hey, my name is Rusna, and today I'm going to share 3 tips to stop procrastination. Let's face it, we've all delayed tasks before. It could be that you're watching this video because you're procrastinating right now, or you might actually want to stop this harmful habit. If that's the case, then continue watching and make sure to try at least some of the things you learn. Before we jump into the tips, let's talk a bit about what procrastination is and isn't. Very often, people think that a procrastinator is just being idle, putting things off until XYZ date. Actually, procrastination has little to do with laziness or even time management. Psychological research shows that procrastination is a complicated failure of self-regulation, and at its very foundation is an inability to manage emotions. And those emotions could be due to a number of reasons: perfectionism, fear of failure, low self-esteem, and many other things. So, you might think that, oh, if I get 65% out of an assignment that I finished in 10 hours, I'm a legend. Whereas getting a 65% when you put in all of your effort might feel like a failure, even though it isn't. So, because it's a complex issue, the best way to deal with it is, surprise, surprise, therapy. Nonetheless, there are things you can do by yourself. So let's have a look at those tips. Tip number 1, divide and conquer. Many a times we are emotionally triggered by big or new tasks. So things like writing an essay, preparing for an exam, creating a presentation, a video, a talk, and many other things. All those tasks are actually substantial. So writing down a line, "write my essay," in your daily planner is actually a bad idea. A better idea is to have a think about what parts or elements make up this big task. So for example, writing an essay means choosing a topic you like, doing some initial research, making notes, writing down ideas, putting them into a plan, and so on. You know what? I can personally attest to the fact that a to-do item like read 5 articles about XYZ is much less stressful than one that says write the cognitive psychology essay. So, chop up the tasks into smaller and more meaningful pieces so you can finish things and get that feeling of accomplishment every time you cross out a task from the to-do list. One suggestion that goes well with this tip is to set personal deadlines for those smaller tasks. They will not change life completely, but self-decided deadlines for those smaller segments do help to procrastinate less. Tip number 2, self-compassion. One thing I know for sure is that procrastinators, especially chronic ones, are really hard on themselves. So much so that not only do they ruminate at the back of their mind about a task before it is done, which could be weeks, but also after they complete it. So the only relief that procrastinators usually feel is the end of stress once a task is done. And that's quite sad, but they usually don't feel like they've achieved something. Actually, what they do often feel is that they're failing all the time. Every single time there is a task or an assignment that they have to do. That results in an endless cycle of stress. So what I'm trying to say is self-punishment is not the way out. I'm not saying that you should make excuses for procrastination, but scolding yourself doesn't help to stop delaying your tasks or feel better. Research shows that what does help are mindfulness exercises. I know, I really do. Some of you might be rolling your eyes at this because it may sound wishy-washy, but honestly, they work. Even a mere 3-minute mindfulness exercise is linked to greater self-compassion and lower procrastination levels. So grab your phone or your laptop and look for free or paid apps that offer mindfulness exercises. There are plenty of those. The Mindfulness app, Headspace, Calm, and many others. The last tip is a 2-minute rule. Micro habits lead to macro actions. Now, I'm not gonna give you a talk about super habits for success or productivity or toughing it up and all that stuff. But I do think that habits are important, and the way that we act in small situations is actually the way that we act in bigger ones too. Just to give you an example, a person who goes to gym regularly or even at the same hour each day is much more likely to have a well-planned out day or routine for other things too, such as studying. And so, the 2-minute rule is based on exactly this idea. It comes from someone called David Allen, and he's like a productivity guru. So the way the rule works is, if it takes 2 minutes or less, do it right away. If it takes more than 2 minutes, schedule it. So, things like washing your dishes, sending a simple email, paying your bills, scheduling a time for something that takes longer. All of these things take little time, so don't think much and just do them immediately. For one, that will shorten your to-do list by quite a bit, and it will also reduce the overall level of daily stress that you experience. But here's the catch. If you're a professional procrastinator, you might find yourself doing those little things to procrastinate. For example, you might have just started working on your essay, and then your naughty mind that's not used to discipline will take you to doing some 2-minute things. And you might be telling yourself that that's okay, because you're being productive. But you know you're lying to yourself. So the one thing to remember then is, if you've finally gotten yourself to doing that big and important task, don't interrupt yourself. If, in such a situation, you catch yourself feeling the inkling to walk away and do something else, stay put and admit to yourself that you're about to procrastinate. Stay in your place for a minute or so, not doing anything, just breathing. And come back to the task if you can. Overall, the 2-minute rule does generally reduce procrastination if you use it right. The reason it works is that your brain gets the message that if you do things, even the things that you hate doing, you will feel relief and a feeling of accomplishment will follow. All in all, I think it's safe to say that we all mess up sometimes. You're not the first person to procrastinate, nor will you be the last. Welcome to human race. So recognize that and do the little things that you can to help yourself feel better about yourself and your life. Try some of the tips I mentioned or look for others that work for you. All the best and goodbye.